Welcome to part 3 of our interview with Laverne Bubbles Starbuck. In this segment of the interview, Bubbles talks more about the 30s and how the family created their own entertainment. She also talks about her eventual move to the western slope of Colorado and her life here. What did your family do for fun? I mean, you worked hard and worked long hours, so what did fun look like?
My mother and father played bridge, and they played a game 500, which was like bridge. And my mother, we had a piano, and my mother could play the piano, and we would sit and sing, and we were taught to sing. We'd sing around the asparagus table, whatever. We'd always have a song going, and she had a lovely voice and would sing songs to us that she learned as a little girl. And so we did that. But that was their only entertainment. My mother, I don't think, ever went to a movie. But we did have movies on Saturday afternoon. I think they cost 5 cents. And they always had a drawing, and you could win a sack of groceries. So if we did good all week long, my father would say, if you do good all week long, I'll take you all to the movie on Saturday afternoon. 5 cents. And we'd go and think it was great, you know.
Well, taking 10 kids to the movies, that's a cash outlay. That's 5 cents is 5 bundles of asparagus.
Yes.
in the hard times.
But, it kept us believing that we could do the work,
So how did your parents encourage you? I mean, because that is hard work, and it's persistent, and you can't let down. How did they instill that in you?
4th of July, the encouragement was, if we do good the 4th of July, we'll get to go on a picnic up El Dorado Springs, which is not too far from Boulder. So that was our fun on the 4th of July, was to go to El Dorado Springs on a picnic.
Do you remember things that they would say to you, favorite sayings that still stick with you?
Only that my father always said that if you're going to make anything out of yourself, you've got to go to school. And he never ever thought that none of us would not go on to college. How we got there was going to be up to us, because it certainly wasn't coming from the farm. We did all go to college. Not all of us graduated with degrees. I think out of the 10, there were 6 of us that got degrees and went on in our careers. The other ones either got married and left, or decided it wasn't worth going on.
But education was something everyone was going to have.
Yes. He never, for 1 minute, let us doubt that we were not going on to college.
How many years did your parents have in school?
8.
So they each went to the 8th grade, and that was it?
Mm-hmm. And no, I'll take that back. My mother went to 8th grade. My father went to his junior year. And then his father, he wanted to go out for football. And his father said, if you want to do that, you've got more energy to work at home. So that was the end of that.
Oh. So how did that growing up experience, what did that do for you? What did you bring from that?
Number 1, it taught me to work. I was not afraid of work. And number 2, it taught me to get along with people. You had to get along with people.
Explain that one. What was it about that life that made it important to get along with people?
You didn't fight all day long with your brothers and sisters. That was, it wouldn't have achieved a thing. And you learned to accept their thoughts or ideas about things. You might argue with them, but you never went any further. And you balanced out what they knew and what you knew, and how you felt about things and how they felt about things. And so it made the compromise really we grew up compromising with one another in order to survive.
Well, now that's learned behavior. Was that something that your parents instilled in you? Because I can remember growing up with my three brothers, and the four of us together could get into some pretty good tussle. So it sounds like there was a little more civil. You leaned more towards civil discourse in your family than I probably did in mine.
Well, my father was real strong on not letting us argue very long.
He knew that you could do it for a little bit, but it wasn't going to go on for long.
Mm-hmm.
And your mom, was she you said that your father was the disciplinarian, and was your mother the tender-hearted one?
Yes.
So how did they work together? Did they have a good
relationship?
Yeah, were they really in love all their lives?
Yeah, yes.
It's hard to work side by side and do that kind of work and stay sort of civil with one another, I would think.
Well, she knew it had to be done too, And she pulled everything up with the bootstraps and did it. I don't know how she did.
Well, that was the other thing about that time. There wasn't an alternative. You couldn't let down. There was no letting down.
Mm-mm.
So you went on from there to college.
Yes.
Where did you go to?
CSU. I went to CSU. I got my BA at CSU. And then I got my master's at Colorado University in secondary school administration.
And how did the city girl come to the country? How'd that happen?
In 1931, my older sister, who had graduated from Greeley, became a teacher. And first-year teachers did not go right to a public school in a city to teach. You got experience by teaching in a country school. Well, she got a job at Parachute on Wallace Creek for that school. My older sister moving away from Arvada, that's a long, long way. We'll never see her again. But she came over, and at that time, $75 a month was her teacher's salary for 9 months. And they lived in the Teach-Reach, and the Teach-Reach is a 2-room apartment attached to the school for the teacher that the school district provided. A single maiden lady could not live alone, so you had to be chaperoned. So my grandmother on my father's side came and lived with my older sister on Wallace Creek on Parachute, here at Parachute. Well, she met a lot of the families here. Satterfields, Lindauers, Chipperfields, Johnsons, And then the second year, in the meantime, they also made a rule that if you got married, you couldn't teach. So she taught the 1 year and went back and got a school closer to home. But the people that were here and met Neola, that was her name, shipped cattle to Denver, and they would call up and see how she was doing or come and see her or invite her to dinner and so forth. Well, those families meant so much to us, and here I am. I wasn't in school yet when she came over here, but she knew cowboys. She knew cowboys. And they came to Denver, and they came to see us. So cowboys. My whole life, I wanted to come back to the Western Slope.
The cowboys. Mm-hmm. Well, you got your wish in a big way, though, didn't you?
Yes, because I was a junior and sophomore in college when out on Hunter Mesa, which is south of Rifle, about 8 miles, they couldn't get a teacher. It was 1957 or 58. And so Bobby and Paul Pittman, who had been two of the people that kept coming to see Neola along with the Lindauers, called and wanted to know if I would take a year off from college and come and teach a year to help them. They had 11 pupils in 5 grades at that school, at Hunter Mesa. So I thought, well, I needed the money, but they offered me $150, and that was twice as much as what my older sister got at Wallace Creek. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So came for 150, and I taught that year out on Hunter Mesa. Well, that cinched me to just figure on moving over here sometime.
You were really attracted to this part of the world?
Yes.
I mean, it seemed like a different world, though, the
Yes.
way you describe it.
Yeah.
Oh, you met the cowboys.
Yeah.
You married a cowboy, didn't you?
Yes, I married a cowboy.
So were you intent on that when you came from?
No, I really didn't. I wasn't. But the country school teacher is expected to provide programs for everything. This country school was the hub of all of their entertainment and for the whole community, which we'll never have again. We'll never see that again. So we were expected to provide programs for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, everything. Well, out there, I was expected to do that, so I did. But at the same time, after the program, they expected you to be able to have a dance, and which I had the Durrells from Rifle. And it was a family, Simon and Claude and their three brothers. For the orchestra, they came out and played honky-tonk music for a dance and square dances. The school was only big enough for 2 squares, and it's still standing. The Schaefers take care of it very well. So Frank got coming over to the parties and the dances, and pretty soon,
Was that love at first sight when you saw Frank?
Well, no, I was a little.
Unsure?
I won't say scared, but I wanted to finish my college work,
Yes.
and so I thought, well, I don't want to get involved seriously because I do want to finish, but it didn't work out that way. I finished after we got married.
Well, I'm sure glad you made the journey over the mountain. The valley's richer for having you here.
Well, thank you.
I want to thank you, Bubbles Starbuck, for being part of the Big Read, and for all the hours and hours that you've given to the kids that have grown up around here, and the years that you spent on the library board. It's a richer valley from your work.
Well, my father was interested in community service, and I guess maybe I just felt the same way. And it was all things that I truly loved to do, though. I love library work. I worked my way through college doing library work at the colleges, and got a master's in library work, so it was a natural thing to do. And then I was on planning and zoning. The big boom was coming through in the 80s, and that required a lot of energy and time to take part in that. I was on the water board, the West Divide Water Board. I've always been interested in water for western Colorado. So they were things that I felt very dear about in order to do them.
Well,
and I didn't mind it at all. The hospital, my father came to visit me in his last journey, had a stroke here and died here, and I saw how wonderful those hospital people were to him. So everything I did was very dear to my heart, so I didn't consider it work, or it was always something I wanted to do.
Well, but you are your father's child. I mean, when you told the story of your father,
I guess maybe I am.
Working, I mean, for a lot of people, working as hard as your family did, and particularly as hard as your parents did, laying down at night would be what you'd want to do. And he found time to be involved in the community and make it a better place. And it sounds like you did the very same thing here.
Yes, I did, I guess. Mm-hmm.
And we're thankful for your presence and the gifts that you've given our communities. And thanks for being part of the big read.
Well, thank you for inviting
It's a
me.
great story, well told. That's the end of our interview with Laverne Bubbles Starbuck. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being part of the Garfield County Library's Big Read Project. If you'd like to hear other storytellers and their stories of the 30s, please go to other segments of stories on our website.